Now, so at some point, we lost out the Khilafah in terms of overseeing human affairs justly, and messengers kept reminding us of our journey back to Allah. The best of the messengers sent to return us back to our original responsibility is our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He reminded us in our original mantle of leadership, we have a responsibility. Now, he reminded us that وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَا يَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ وَلَيُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمْ الَّذِي ارْتَضَىٰ لَهُمْ وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُم مِّن بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا, on the condition that يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. And he said, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. That Allah had a covenant. He will fulfill his own part of the covenant. Even though you have failed in fulfilling your covenant when you went to the earth's surface, I am still promising you that I am going to return you the Khilafah, and then he will certainly make them successor on land and did with those before them, and will surely establish for them their faith, which he has chosen for them, and will indeed change their fear into what? Security. Then he said, وَلَا يُبَدِّلَنَّهُم مِّن بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. And he gave a condition: only if you continue to worship me without associating partner with me. But he said, after this condition, whoever violates my condition and disbelieves after me, I also promise the person that the promise you had that you disobeyed, I gave you another opportunity, second chance. If you disobey it this time around, you will not be considered as anybody but an evildoer. So at some point in time, the promise of Allah stands by holding on to the conditions enumerated, and that is for us to believe in Allah, do good, and never associate partners with Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, we want to look at what is the Western concept of leadership. Because on the definition of the Western concept of leadership, the Prophet ﷺ was in the first position. Of course, he gave us the Islamic concept. We don't need to ask if he's the first, because he is the pioneer of the Islamic concept. Now, the West has a diverse concept of leadership, which is rooted in their perception of leadership goals. According to Lowell and Seriki, the concept of leadership is often marred in controversy due to its subjective nature, since it can be applied in multiplicity of circumstances, either in negative or positive terms, or to a variety of individuals. And in the word of Graham and Bennett, leadership is of two kinds: official and unofficial. Then, the unofficial leadership is the ability of a person to influence the thoughts and behaviors of others. Unofficial. While the official leadership is the motivation and control of subordinates to work towards goals which are regarded by the organization as desirable and possible. Then, according to Mullins, it's a relationship through which one person influences the behavior and action of other people. Leadership. According to some, in their own view, they define leadership as the influence of the group towards the achievement of group goals by planning, organizing, directing, and integrating the institution of demands and the need of members in a way that will be both productive and individually fulfilling. Now, by these definitions, all the definitions put together, our Prophet did not only subsume the defined qualities, but actually surpasses them. Sallallahu. Now, the Prophet was an embodiment of humility. Sallallahu. The first lesson he taught us was humility. as a leader. In a hadith that is related, the Prophet said, it is not correct an yakula inni khairu min Yunusa bimata, that you should be saying that I am better than Yunus, and Nabi Yunus alayhi salam bimata. Now, he said it's not right. Then he also said, somebody came and told the Prophet, Ya khair al-bariyati, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, Zaka Ibrahim alayhi salam. That is Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. He said he's not khair al-bariyati, that the title is Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. Then, but Allah told us in the Holy Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. That we have an excellent character, excellent model in the personality of the Prophet ﷺ. For he who desires Allah and the hereafter. And then the Prophet is one that remembers Allah a lot. Remembering Allah a lot is the quality of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, the model of the Prophet ﷺ, is not merely someone whose teaching is to be listened to. His life itself is a model to be followed. His entire life is a model to be followed. The Prophet ﷺ demonstrated that his actions, that when things were difficult, he was patient. When he had authority, he was just. When he was wronged, he exercised forgiveness with appropriate measure. When he faced danger, he remained firm. And when he had blessings, he remained grateful. So we are supposed to live by these ethics, because he himself said, is the mercy to the creations. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. The Prophet ﷺ was at a point in time was told to curse a particular people. He said, I have not been sent to come and curse. I have been sent as a mercy. So this is what he has displayed. Now, even though he was told that Millat Abikum Ibrahim was a Makul Muslim min qabla fi hadha, that you should follow the path of your grandfather Ibrahim, because this name you bear as a Muslim, he was actually the originator of it before now. Now, let's look at the specific leadership qualities from the Holy Prophet, because we are working towards time. I'm jumping some steps. Now, in my own small way of thinking, I have classified it into 5 categories. 1, tazkiyah to nafs. 2, amana. 3, consultation. Then the 4th one is delegation of responsibility, or what? The 4th one, 3 is consultation. Sorry. Then the fourth one is show of mercy and magnanimity to the opposition. And the last one is what I termed cloning of the prophetic character in the companions. It's my term. So I'll explain my terms. Now, the first one, tazkiyah to nafsi, as the inner foundation of leadership. The inner self of any individual who wants to govern a community, or who desires to govern a community, has to be pure, and bereft of base desires. Before an individual can responsibly govern others, the nerves, which is the lower self, with its tendency towards greed, pride, anger, ostentation, domination, and attachment to worldly power, must be disciplined and purified. This perspective is deeply rooted in one of the verses that we quoted above. Now, the Prophet himself was told that Wa inna kala ala khuluqin azim. Our Sheikh Muhammad Amin, when he was doing the tafsir of this verse, he said, khuluqin azim, lofty characters of excellent example and lofty characters. Talk about humility, kind words, generosity, name them. He said they are also looking at the Prophet like this. The Prophet La'ala is above them. So the characters, the lofty characters themselves are looking up to the Prophet. You know, when you have a first class student and first class is looking at another first class, that is on a lower scale. But this one, even lofty characters, excellent manners, are wondering what kind of human being is the Holy Prophet because he's far above Khuluqin Azim. Now, the connection between leadership and character is therefore fundamental. The Prophet's authority was inseparable from his akhlaq, compassion, justice, humility, trustworthiness, patience, and service. Therefore, the Prophet is not merely a political leader to be studied historically. He is the supreme model of perfect human character, al-insanu kamil, and the living embodiment of the Quranic moral order, because we are told that his character is the Quran. The Prophet is of the opinion that a corrupted inner self cannot produce anything except corrupted public actions. If the ruler's heart is dominated by good, public resources becomes opportunity. If the ruler's heart is dominated by greed, public resources becomes opportunity for the personal enrichment. If it is dominated by pride, criticism becomes an insult. If it is dominated by tribalism, public appointment becomes instrument of patronage. If it is dominated by anger, political opponents becomes enemies rather than fellow citizens. If it is dominated by sincere consciousness of Allah, however, authority can become a means of service. Allah, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum wa amwalikum, walakin yanzuru ila kulubikum wa amalikum." Allah does not look at the beautiful nature of your body and your form, but he looks at your heart and the action that precedes it. So every leader must first seek the purification of the soul and maintain absolute control over his thoughts and actions before seeking to lead people. In the Mathnawi of Jalaluddin Rumi, it was reported that Rumi was to be appointed unanimously as a leader of the people. The following day, they wake up, they found Rumi that he has emigrated. And then some people followed him and asked him, they were able to trace him. What he told them shocked people. He said, I see myself that I have not been able to be a king over my soul. Then why should I be qualified to lead the people? Sheikh also told us in Ruhul Adab that Adabu Vizahir wa Batin Bihi Yura Kalmaru Lil Mawatin. That we should be of good manners openly and secretly. It is because only with that we'll be able to attain higher stations. So it is unwise and unfair for an unjust leader to be heaped with praises, because any benefits one desires to get from him, In fact, according to some people, it incurs Allah's wrath by so doing. The Prophet ﷺ said, even though some people say this hadith is weak, there is a corroborative hadith that makes it authentic. Iza madha al-fasik ghadiba rabbuhu wa ihtazalahu al-arsh. That when an evil ruler is praised, like we praise politicians for what they do not do and what they didn't do, he said Allah is angered and the throne also shakes. You know, recently somebody went and praised the president where he was not supposed to praise the president, and he was given the beating of his life. So when you praise an evil person, you are not only supposed to be beaten here, even in the hereafter. Then the authentic hadith said, Man call al-fasik ya sayyidi. Whoever says to a sinful person, oh my master, faqad agdabta rabbahu azza wa jalla. That person has actually angered the Lord, his Lord. It has corroborated with the previous hadith. Now, the second one is amana, leadership as amana. One of the fundamental Islamic concepts upon which leadership is hinged is amana, or trust. The Prophet himself was named Al-Amin because of his trustworthiness. Allah is telling us in the Quran, Inna Allah ya'murukum an tuwaddul amanat ila ahliha wa idha kuntum bayna nas an takum bil adl. That indeed Allah commands you to return trust to their rightful owners. And when you judge between people, try to be just in your judgments. Idilu huwa aqrabu lit-taqwa. Political office, public funds, government institutions, security responsibilities, judicial authorities, and legislative power are there for a form of trust to anyone that holds it. A public office holder who steals public resources has not simply committed an economic offense. From the Islamic ethical perspective, he has betrayed the trust of the people. A leader who deliberately appoints an incompetent person because of family ties has not only violated the principle of entrusting responsibility, he has also violated the principle of entrusting responsibility to those qualified for them. A leader who uses state institutions to punish political opponents violates justice. A leader who diverts resources from our poor communities to private interests has transformed a public trust into a personal property. This perspective is further deepened through what is called muraqabah, the awareness that Allah observes the inner and the outer actions of a human being. Muraqabah, mushahada, and marifa. Consequently, the most reliable form of accountability is not merely the fear of an auditor, a journalist, the court, or electoral defeat. It is the internal conviction that Allah sees what the human institution cannot see. فَإِنْ لَمْ تَكُنْ يَرَاكَ فَإِنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ وَإِنْ لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. Now, the third one, show of mercy and magnanimity to the opposition. We said the Prophet, Omar Salnaka illa rahmatan lil alamin. Somebody will ask, how is the Prophet a mercy to the unbelievers? So, the munafiq. Abdullah Tastari, in his tafsir of this verse, he said, Kana Nabiyyu rahmatan lil alamin. Kana Nabiyyu rahmatan lil mu'minina bil hidayah. Wa rahmatan lil kafirina bil takhir al azabi. Wa rahmatan lil munafiqina bil amn min al qatl. He said the Prophet ﷺ is a mercy to the believers because of guidance. He is a mercy to the unbelievers because their punishment is being delayed. before the coming of our prophet, وَكُلًّا أَخَذْنَا بِذَنْبِهِ. If you commit a punishment, if you commit an offense, you receive the punishment. The maximum is 3 days. If you are warned, you see Allah's punishment. But because of the coming of our prophet, and dagger, ila yawm al-qiyamati. Now, an example to show that mercy and as to the munafiq, we are prevented from killing them, even if you know it's a munafiq, because why they are still proclaiming the kalima. An example to show that mercy is when the Prophet ﷺ sent a deputation to the Quraysh, demanding the compensation after Quraysh violation of the terms of agreement of Hudaybiyah. You know, the treaty of Hudaybiyah was reached with the Prophet in the 6th year after Hijrah, and they were observing the treaty, and the Prophet consistently kept to his own part of the agreement. Even when Abu Basir was taken to the Prophet, he returned him to them. When Abu Basir came, the son of Sahalu, when he came to meet the Prophet at the Treaty of Medina, who embraced Islam, they were discussing. His father, Sahalu, slapped him that he should not return back to Medina. They sent, you know the distance, about over 400 kilometers from Abu Basir. Abu Jandal was the son of Sahal. The Prophet had no choice. He returned it to the two people that came. On their way, when they were going, Abu Basir is very intelligent. He saw the sword of one of the persons sent from Mecca. He said, "This your sword is very beautiful." He said, "Indeed, the sword is beautiful, and I have tested it on so many necks." He said, "Can I have?" You can say you can have it. He sheepishly gave the sword to Abu Basir, and Abu Basir, very intelligent and courageous, and he's a hero too in war. He quickly tested the sword on his head, and he finished him. Then the second person ran away. Then Abu Basir returned back to Medina to meet the Prophet. Then they sent again that Abu Basir should go back. The Prophet just retorted and told in the ears of Sayyidina Abu Bakr that he is indeed a warmonger. How I wish we can help him. Then they know that the Prophet was not ready. Then he told the Prophet, Abu Bakr told the Prophet, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have fulfilled your own part of the agreement by giving me back to them. This second coming, I'm the one who liberated myself. Please accept me." The Prophet could not accept because of his strict agreement. So Abu Basir and Abu Jandal later found their way, and they created a camp in between Mecca and Medina. They didn't go back to the Mecca. They didn't go back to Medina as well. So after some time, the Meccans have to write to the Prophet that, please, since these people are constituting nuisance along the path of our trade, we want to agree that they should be with you. Then the Prophet now accepted them. Now, what led to the conquest of Mecca? There were two tribes. You know, the tribes around Mecca, some aligned themselves with the Quraysh and the unbelievers. Some aligned themselves with the Muslims. The Banu Khuza'a aligned themselves with the Muslims, and the Banu Bakr aligned themselves with the unbelievers. So after about 2 years or thereabout, in the 8 years after Hijrah, this Banu Bakr decided to launch an attack on Banu Khuza'a, and they killed a lot of them because they were not even prepared for it. After killing them, and they had information that they were supported by the Quraysh, and it is part of the agreement they signed that no party is going to support any party against our party. Since they have violated, the Prophet now, in fact, they killed those people who were hiding in Kaaba. So the Prophet gave them 3 conditions. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The first condition is to pay compensation for those killed. The second condition is to end the alliance the Quraysh had with Banu Bakr. The third one is to accept that the Treaty of Hudaybiyah has come to an end. They accepted the two, the last one, but they refused the third one. And the Prophet then moved with 14,000 army to Mecca. And when they were close to Mecca, they camped. Where they camped, what is the name of this person? Sufyan and some of the chiefs of Mecca sneaked to go and, it's natural for them to go and find out information about the people coming. And unfortunately for them, they were caught. When they were caught, the following day, they were caught as captives. Nothing happened to them. They didn't kill them. Then they took them to Mecca. They entered Mecca, and then they took over Mecca. Nobody could move. Then the Prophet asked, Ma tarawna anni fa'ilu bikum. After taking over the whole of Mecca, so what do you think? What do you think I will do to you today? He was asking the Meccans. They said, Anta aku karimun wa ibn aku karimun. They started praising the Prophet. We know you. You are a generous brother, and your father too is also a generous brother. He said, Izhabu wa antum tulaqa. In the history of war, and the gravity of this display of mercy that has never happened before in this magnitude, unless we could picture the situation. And just look at how we sleep, how we lived in our rooms. If somebody deny you pure water, the day you get your copy of your share of pure water, you will be watching the pure water, making sure that if fatawakkal ala Allah, inna Allah yuhibbul mutawakkilin. This verse was actually revealed after the Battle of Uhud. Happened to the Muslims. Then the verse came, the Prophet ﷺ, that you were soft and kind to them. Our scholars, Sufi scholars, used to say it's wrong for you to attach to the Prophet. If it were somebody else that is rude and haughty, they will have run away from that person. If it were not you, pardon them, wastaghfir lahum, seek for their forgiveness. Not only that, washawirhum fil amri, also consult them in affairs. And if you have taken decision, fatawakkal ala Allah, rely on Allah. Inna Allah yuhibbu limutawakkilin. Now, the essence of the consultation, according to Ibn Kathir, is to honor and strengthen the companions, so that it can, again, not only that, it can be an example for future Muslim leaders. And it will also be useful in matters where no direct revelation has been given. The example of this consultation is when the unbelievers in Mecca planned to attack the prophets. Called the companions and said, these people want to attack. Then Salman al-Faris asked the Prophet, is it permissible to give advice? The Prophet nodded. He said, okay, we are going to dig a very large trench around Medina, so that it will be difficult for anybody to jump the trench and cross. In fact, if the animal were to try to jump, they will fall inside. So exactly that was what they did. And the Prophet listened that this is one of their war tactics in Persia. So consequently, the enemy's plan to gain entry into the city of Medina proved abortive. So consultation as a leader is very important and not authoritative. The last, for effective leadership and continuity, there has to be leaders who inherited the Holy Prophet ﷺ. This inheritance is what made all the companions of the Prophet the best of all the generations that preceded them and those ones who will succeed them. Kuntum khairan ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billahi walau amana ahlul kitabi lakana khairan lahum minhum lil-mu'minun wa aktharuhum al-fasiqun. Now, that you are the best community, what makes us the best? If we are the best community, then our prophet should also be the best. Therefore, a successful leader must possess the spiritual status. This is very important for me. To clone himself through the light of the Holy Prophet, which illuminates the heart and cleans it of all ills. It is only after that individual will be able to carry out the above act of encouraging what is good and forbidding what is evil, and subsequently attaining the status of kuntum khaira ummatin. The Ummah wouldn't have been best without coming in contact with the perfection of the Prophet. That is why the Persian poet Sadu Shirazi said, Balagali ula bi kamalihi kashafa duja bi jamalihi hasanatu jami khisalihi sallu alayhi wa alihi. He said the Prophet attained excellence by his perfection. His eyes, his legs, his head, every part of him are the most beautiful. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Then, because delight, he said, the Prophet, you will be the best. And that is why the companions, 124,000 position.